Roads have been closed after havoc in parts of KZN due to the flooding. There's fears, of course, this will have a serious knock-on effect on the economy because trucks are now struggling to reach their destinations. We know how important the port of Durban is for both imports and exports. Road Freight Association CEO Gavin Kelly making time to speak to us this morning. Gavin, hello to you. Every time you and I seem to talk, it's about issues in KZN. Last year, the July riots, and now I've never seen visuals like this in my life before. I'm sure we'll see it now. We have containers, shipping containers, literally lying across the road and kilometres and kilometres of trucks backed up because they can't get into port. Just how bad is this?
Good morning, Gareth, and good morning to all your listeners. Well, I suppose the guys who push the green economy and the green energy and the carbon footprint are happy we're not using trucks when we move containers down the road. They float to their destination on their own. But yeah, those pictures and what you've seen around the port and some of those visuals that are probably screaming right now is really, really a bad state of affairs. So what's happened is that the access roads around the port have been washed away. There are one or two that are still operating, but otherwise most of the access roads have been washed away. The depots where the containers are staying or standing have been inundated with water. So we have some scenes where these containers have floated away. The depots where the trucks stage to get to the containers have been flooded. So we have vehicles that have been absolutely swamped. They have to be retrieved, they have to be checked to make sure they can work. So right now, it is really, really bad. So, you know, what happened in the protests with violence has happened with the violence of water. It is really inconceivable how strong water is when it runs rampant, and that's what you're seeing. So freight has right now just stopped operating while we desperately try to get a couple of routes working so we can start clearing and start getting some of those goods out.
When we talk about alternative routes, obviously we're talking about the roads in this case, try and get the trucks around into the port as quickly as possible. Alternatively, what do road freight companies do now? Do they start going to Richards Bay? Where do they redirect this sort of freight off to?
Well, you can only redirect freight that's not in the port. So freight that will be coming to South Africa, if it's still on the sea, so it's not docked outside of Durban, for example, you could then try and reroute. And of course, we don't know how long these delays are going to be. So conceivably, let's say this is going to take a week or two to get the port back to where we would want it to be, because we're going to have to temporarily repair some of these routes. So goods that are on the sea, we could try and move to other ports. But there's going to be a fair amount of goods in the port that will be delayed because we cannot get to the containers that are already grounded, as we say, that are already on land. And of course, the ships standing outside of Durban might take the decision to move if they get told it's going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get to them, move on to other ports, or actually move away and then bring those boxes back at a later stage. So right now, it's a bit of a gamble in terms of how do we schedule what's coming in. Is there space at Richards Bay in Cape Town, for example? Can we get that moving in there quickly? And then how quickly can we evacuate and repair the port of Durban?
And just before I let you go, very briefly, I just want to get your thoughts, Gavin, on the reports we're hearing that some trucks are being looted and items being stolen by the trucks that are stuck in certain parts of the N2. What are you hearing?
We've heard a number of those reports, and we need to verify them. And, you know, this is one of the terrible things about the state that we're in. As soon as trucks stand, they are easy game, and we've raised this with the authorities a number of times. And we've asked the South African Police Services to ensure that they secure these routes, especially where there are trucks standing. We've heard reports, but we haven't verified them yet.
And we'll continue to verify as well. I'm sure you will as well. Gavin Kelly this morning from the Road Freight Association. I look at the background behind Gavin now, and without trucks, South Africa stops, and it's going to become very much the case as well. It's going to be evident as we start to see the knock-on effect, Tumza, as well, about these trucks standing outside the Durban port as well. And also, now what do we do with the ships that are trying to get in? Where does that cargo go? If I had more time with Gavin, I would have asked about Richards Bay, the other ports, but they don't necessarily have the capacity to take on what Durban can't deal with at the moment. So there's this knock-on effect, which is such an issue all the time.
I think it's heartbreaking to know that they're still reeling and recovering from the July unrest last year. This happens as well. A further cost, and we're just estimating on the billions, right, which is the cost of damage so far. But it could be more than that at this stage.
Never mind the knock-on effect from trucks being stop. So right now we're talking about the financial damage from the flooding itself. Never mind what it's going to mean for the microeconomy and macroeconomy for the country. So we're going to check in again a little bit later on what's happening in KZN.